I'd like to call the September 13th, 2016 Public Works Board to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fritsch?
Here.
Mr. Pickard?
Here.
Mr. Temperley?
Here.
Mr. Lear?
Here.
And Mr. Reich and Mrs. Wolf previously informed staff that they'd be unavailable for tonight's meeting.
All right. Next is correction and/or approval of the minutes from last month, but we'll move that to next month when there's more people. Next on the agenda is questions and public comment. Seeing none, we'll move right on to number 5, discussion recommendation on brush pickup policy, which was moved to this month from last month. And we have in our packet a prepared motion, a memo, and the actual revised brush pickup policy.
Yeah, and the only comment I'll make it's in the memo. When we got to looking at this, excuse me, at Todd, at your request, we found there were a number of things we should probably change at this time, not just the timing of it. And it's based on, phone calls we get every year, comments we get from citizens, et cetera. Also, just a way to make it very clear so that when we get calls, everybody is saying the same thing to everybody. Otherwise, we've had instances where, we've kind of confused people. So we're thinking this is much more clear. It's also something I think we can publicize, not just on the website, but, really be able to use this now as a way to let people know what's going on. So I guess we'll just kind of talk about what works and what doesn't in here, and we can make some more changes if you want to.
I guess, yeah, there's no hurry. The only thing I'm not comfortable with is unscheduled brush pickup. I would like that language. I mean, why is that a concern for the city to go around and just make sure that there's no brush on the tree lawn unless somebody's complaining? See my point? Because this happened before you were here, but I got a letter saying, hey, you've got brush on your lawn, when I just had a limb this big that fell off an old tree. I didn't know about it. I mean, do you understand my point?
Not completely. You mean
Is there brush police where the city goes around?
Right, yeah. The whole point, we used to do it weekly, and the whole point was not for city crews to spend a lot of time on this, but if they're going around policing it, we may as well just go back to picking it up then, if the city's crews are going around inspecting tree lawns for, you see my point?
I do not. So you got a letter from the city saying you had brush?
Yes, when all it was a tree limb that, this is before you showed up.
This is a long time ago.
This is a long time ago. And this has had,
I'm sorry, say it again.
I thought that they did that. Put letters on people's doors.
I don't know if they still have time to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
that
Okay,
might be
I got it.
what you're
Okay. Interesting.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, Misty's helping me out, making the point that what happens is that if Dave, and please understand that Dave is very particular about his streets, so. And I like that.
right.
Yeah, what he does is if he sees brush out on the tree lawn, he's assuming that it was placed there and the resident wants it picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he does is kind of keeps track of that, and if it doesn't go away or whatever, then he does leave a letter or a note with people indicating that if you want the city to pick it up, this is what you have to do. Because we don't have, we don't just go around and pick it up. And I'm
Right.
going to assume, now I don't know, and maybe Doug, you can help me with the history of this, there must have been a point at which somebody said, we can't just go around and pick everything up for free, we've got to start charging for it, et cetera. So I see what you're saying, and I see now how the paths kind of cross here and don't quite jibe. So that's a good point.
You're right. If you cut back because of expenses and stuff and reduction in staff and over the years and so on. And
Interesting.
one thing that it used to, this was a long time ago, but for example, with the utility, if you were late with your payment, you got a legalistic, threatening, well, we're going to take and, eviscerate you if you don't pay your bill. And, instead of just a friendly reminder, and I'm wondering too, if the tone of the missive, the letter, is that way. I don't know, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it.
Well, according to the draft policy, they don't even get a letter. The city's just gonna go out and pick it up and then assess them a $30 fee. There's nothing in here about a notice or anything. It'd be the last paragraph.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the unfriendly part, you're
Yeah.
threatening you with,
Okay.
Or you're just gonna go send them a bill, and they may not know it, like in my case, I hire someone to mow my lawn, I don't know what's out there, and I work from home, so.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get a bill for $30, it's like, well, I'd rather get a notice and go out and check it out myself.
Okay. So in the policy, should we, and maybe this is what you're suggesting, I'm sorry if I missed it, but should we have language in there that residents will be informed of what they can do to get rid of the brush?
Yeah, give them
And then if after
2-week
some-
notice.
and that's another thing is the brush small enough that they could take and put it in their car and take it and haul it over to the over to the,
Yeah.
what do we call it?
Yard
Trash
waste.
site.
Yard
Yard
waste.
waste site.
I get what you're saying.
Or whether it's,
A huge
storm
pile.
damage and you've got a big limb and it pays for the city at that point because we probably have some others to go out with the chopper and.
Well, yeah, that's in the policy. If there's a windstorm damage, that's free. But, some trees are old and the limbs will just fall off by themselves. And I don't want people getting charged for that. For one
Okay.
limb.
I get it. So let me say it again, so that we'll put language in here and we'll develop our letter now so that it spells out the options and then gives them X amount of time, 2 weeks or something like that, to take care of it, if it's on the tree lawn. If it's anywhere else, we don't care.
Right, yes.
But if it's on the tree lawn, if we have to pick it up after this process, then there will be a charge for $30.
Why do you care if it's on the tree lawn?
Yeah, why would you care?
Yeah, because that's where we want it gone. And now keep in mind that.
Why do you want it gone?
That's where you look for it, right?
Yeah.
If it's not on the tree lawn.
But,
Okay.
well, why look for it?
Why look for it?
I see.
Okay, now in the spring, it's not as big a deal. In the fall, if it's still on the tree lawn in the winter,
Or the
Then-
leaf pickup?
Snow.
snow. I mean, that doesn't mean it's sticking out into the street or anything like that, but,
So
Sometimes it is though.
all right. And I'll play devil's advocate on the other side, then should we just allow people to pile stuff up on the tree lawn forever? and-
Well, I think there's other ordinances about having junk on your yard, right? People can't, you can't just leave an old, five old junk cars on your yard. There's a ordinance about that. So there's already some ordinances about having a messy yard of some sort. I don't know, I know there's noxious weeds, I know there's junk vehicles, I don't know if there's sticks.
So how would a pile of sticks hamper the city crews if it's sitting on the tree lawn?
Well, it wouldn't in the spring or, when there's no snow on the ground.
Okay.
but-
And if there's snow on the ground, how does it handle?
Yeah,
Well, if it works its way out into the street, or if, it gets pushed out there by the homeowner when there's snow blowing or shoveling, then it becomes a problem, yeah. Or if
When
it just, anything that's on the tree lawn can find its way into the gutter eventually,
Yeah,
and then we
and
get
then we
into the
got the
storm.
backup in the gutters and we got the,
This is interesting, I wasn't prepared for this. If you want people to just leave the stuff on the curb or on the tree lawn,
it can be true.
then we can nix this.
Yeah.
well,
I see
you've
both.
also got
Yeah, I see,
people
yeah.
complaining, who make a complaint about their neighbor's junk on the tree lawn.
Well, I think a compromise would give people a 2-week notice.
Most people have lawns in their front. Most people mow their lawns. Most of the time, it's not a problem, I would think.
Yeah,
Unless you have somebody that mows the lawn for you and they must mow around it then or something, I don't know.
could be. No, there are some houses that just don't care,
Yeah.
so.
Are we already going around, on a semi-routine basis, going around just looking for brush to pick up, or is it just
Yes.
kinda as we spot it? Because if we're going around already, just make it like a certain week of every month, and then it just happens every month.
See, we were getting away from that, though,
Yeah.
them
We-
going around.
No, we do that in the summer yet, where we will pick up by appointment, like, I think, is it the third Thursday
But are you
or
going
something like that?
around inspecting yards?
Are you driving all the streets or are you just
Oh,
going?
no, not just to do that, but if somebody's in the neighborhood, they'll note
Right,
that it's there.
right,
Yeah.
okay. So they're not driving around, I hope not,
No, we're
because
not-
that was
we're
the
not
whole
policing
idea
brush.
of you not, so, but if they're like filling potholes or other stuff.
Yeah, if they're in the, let me back up a little bit, because I wonder if we're losing sight of why this
Yeah,
exists at all.
Let's get some feedback from the, the people doing this. How big of a problem is this? How often does this happen? Maybe we're making a mountain out of a molehill here and it's almost a non-issue.
No, it's not a non-issue, it happens quite often.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave tells me he could probably pick brush off the tree lawn every week, and I think, and that's where I was gonna go, I don't know where it started that we would pick it up. It
Well,
must have
used to be
started,
that we
Long
did it for
time.
everybody all the
Yeah,
time.
all
Yeah.
the time.
And then as you wean people off of that, I can understand having some notification.
yeah.
But it's been years now.
Yes.
So is that still the right policy is what I was wondering. Is it still needed? I was wondering. I'm hearing yes, but
Well, I think in some cases, it's like anything else, somebody abuses it. We have times where people would cut tree down in their backyard or have a contractor do it, and they haul all the brush out to the front and that's it, and then we end up hauling it away.
Yeah,
And that costs us time, so
Well,
that's
We
money.
do that though, right?
What's that?
We do that?
We do that, yeah. If they make an appointment, we do it for $15, which is pretty darn cheap. Or if
Yeah.
they don't make an appointment, we do it for $30. And so, if it fits nicely on the tree lawn, if it doesn't stick into the sidewalk, into the street, I guess you're right. What difference does it make if it's there? But if it extends into either one, then it becomes a problem and we've got to move it. I'm assuming there was also a point where the discussion was, hey, this is a good service for folks, because normally,
Yeah.
they don't have a place to haul these things or whatever.
And we're not talking about the situation where the people contract to do it. It's when the people don't.
That's right.
Or when they cut it down themselves?
Yeah, and so, really, the first part of the policy is all about if people want to have it done.
Right. And I'm guessing a lot of people don't read this stuff, don't look at the website and just say, I'll put it on the tree lawn and see what happens.
yeah,
Oh, you're exactly right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And I think that's where the letter kind of evolved, where it
Right.
was becoming such an issue that we were spending a lot of time on it, and so we put a little teeth into it.
Yeah.
And, riled a few folks, and that sort of thing.
Can I ask whether the fees cover the costs,
No.
our costs?
No,
That sounds way too cheap.
no, even at $30, it really doesn't.
And
cover
we
the cost.
have to, like with the chopper, we gotta take and, my understanding is sharpen the blades every time
Oh,
we
sure.
use it.
Well, not every time, but they need, the chippers need maintenance, I couldn't tell you how much has to be done every time, but, yeah.
Where is it on the company, or, well, where is it on the company, where is it on the city's website for the pickup part? Is it already on there now?
No, every year, or twice a year, when we do our spring and fall pickup, we put a notice on the website and in the newspaper.
Ah, okay.
there is
To your point,
information
you-
on the website about brush and leaf pickup.
Yeah.
As far as scheduling,
Yeah.
under the
There-
streets.
There's
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
yeah,
So
there's a
if they wanted
permanent
to
page
call.
devoted
Yeah,
to
I'm
it.
sorry, you're right.
So you could find information later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, most people just call. In fact, I had a call today.
Well, I would like language added to make note that we'll give them a 2-week notice, because the last paragraph just says that we're just gonna go ahead and do it, and then send them a $30 bill.
Do we have the authority to give them a bill?
We have in the past.
I know we do, but, I mean,
Well,
Are you
if
talking
they
about,
don't, if they don't pay, can we make them pay?
yeah, the,
charge it on their
on the
tax
property
bill?
tax roll, we've done that for,
Even if they didn't trust, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little iffy if they didn't ask for it.
Only
Yeah.
reason I ask is that I ran into a different issue with the LEPC where they made a policy saying, well, if you don't pay, then we'll bill you. And then they were billing, and then they go, well, you don't actually have any backing to do it. So that's what, to your point about, is there a city ordinance that backs it up?
If this was, if this was an ordinance, then yes,
Yeah.
but it's not an
it's not the
ordinance.
policy.
So that might be another thing is, should this be an
Why don't you
ordinance?
have to ask Vicky tomorrow?
You raise a very interesting point.
Yeah,
Talk to Vicky
I
about
was
it.
wondering about that too, that there should be an ordinance about the fees.
Yeah, maybe I should do a little more research on that.
Yeah.
Again, obviously, if it's sticking into the street or the sidewalk, then it's probably considered a nuisance or a safety issue.
Yeah,
But if it's not, I guess, what is the obligation to move it?
right.
Other than aesthetics, maybe, unless, somebody likes
So
driftwood.
someone could, yeah, so,
Yeah, and again, it's a case of, ultimately, it comes down to, do our citizens, our residents, want to take and pay the little extra money, maybe that it would require to do that? Now, it does cost, what's going to give as far as the budget's concerned, which I look at, and, is we're trying to keep things tight, and how do we do that with, and still provide the services, and if it's such a demand, and that's of course,
yeah, so how many requests do we get a year, you think?
Boy, Misty, you got any idea how many
I'm sorry.
requests?
I don't take the requests, so.
I can't tell you, I don't know for
'Cause
sure.
we want
I know
to,
we get multiple. I mean, I know
A
where
lot,
the folder
'cause-
is.
Tens or hundreds? Like, which decimal range?
I'd say tens, probably.
tens,
Yeah,
all right.
so less than 100?
I would
Right.
think.
I would say less than 100.
Because if it gets to the point where there's too many requests at $15, I mean, we want people to do it during the free period, till it's
Yeah.
done in one time period, and so,
Yeah.
so,
Well, and that's often what happens. I mean, the time periods are set up to correspond with when people are doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So and then I can tell you for sure, that 1 week period, it's every day of
Yes.
that 1 week period. There's a
Right.
lot of stuff out there. So
Right.
the in-between ones are probably fewer because of that.
all right.
Is fall or spring heavier or about the same?
Pretty close to the same. Yeah.
And then there are a lot of people who do take it to the yard waste.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, there are.
A lot. A lot.
I can assure you of that, which is another issue we're going to have to discuss someday, is what are we going to do with that place, because it's not big enough anymore.
Yes, it gets close to the road, if not into the road.
It gets into the road.
Yeah, and it's doing damage to the street and everything else, so that's an issue that we have to address sometime soon. Well, let me, let's bring it back. Let me do a little research on
Yeah.
that very issue and
That's-
see, and if it needs to be an ordinance, then we have to have another discussion in that direction.
That was only my stickler point.
Good
Um,
point, I didn't think
So
of
the
it.
notice and then the legal issue are the two things really. then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely we need to have a set schedule. No more taking advantage of the warm weather, because the weather changes each year.
Yeah.
And it catches people off guard. And we do need a written policy, because I'm sure there'll be some people who want it earlier, and they're gonna be yelling at Paul, and he can just show them this written policy and refer them to us to
Yeah.
debate it again.
That helps you, having it written out
It does.
in policy.
Yeah, it helps everybody. Then, like I say, we're all on the same page. Plus, we can publicize this much better.
Yeah,
And it helps me as a homeowner too, because then I can really start to plan on it.
yeah,
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 the weather might be cold, or the weather might be hot, or whatever else, but I know this is what it is.
yeah.
Okay. So you're good with everything, but basically that last
Yeah.
paragraph on the,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, hey, that's good.
Okay. Anything else on number 5 there?
Interesting.
If not, Big agenda here. We're on to number 6, recommendations for future agendas.
Excuse me. Here's where I'll just mention what I handed out to you. We've been working with the DNR, the State Department of Health, Jefferson County Department of Health, and some others to put together some kind of an informational meeting on lead in water, drinking water. And so this is kind of the program or the agenda that all these groups have agreed on at this point. We've moved it back several times for a couple of reasons. One is just people's availability. The other one is, and I think you're aware that we have been awarded a $300,000 loan from the DNR for people to replace their part of the service line. Not all the details are put together on that yet, and so moving it back gives us a little more time to, when we have this meeting, to make sure we present up-to-date information to people that attend. So if there are items on there that you think should be a little more clear or not on there, or things that we're missing, let me know. We're shooting for, I've told the panelists to, shoot for total of about an hour of presentation and then still leave plenty of time for question and answer on the thing. So that basically tonight, that's simply for your information.
Should announce it. The date, Mark, announce the date.
That is set in stone, by the way. Because that's when everybody will show
If people are
So,
watching.
so for the people that are watching, what we're talking about is a informational meeting sponsored by the Lake Mills Light and Water Department on lead in drinking water at the Lake Mills Municipal Building. The date is set for December 7th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. And of course, this will be published on the website and in the paper, I would think, as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of publicity.
So there'll be people from the DNR and Department of Health Services, Jefferson County, as well as the city.
Yes.
Got one question for you. Is there any other towns in Jefferson County? There's a lot of older towns who are are they in the same boat we are?
They haven't publicized that they are.
Yeah.
The ones that we're aware of that have, I guess, kind of drifted to the top are Mount Horeb, Stoughton. I got to be careful here because I don't want to mention somebody that isn't and have them come yelling at me. I believe New Glarus is in the same situation. In the county, I'm not aware of any other ones that have gotten to the point we are, if you will. There is a list on the DNR website. There's also, like, the prisons are on the list. Some other manufacturers, go ahead.
So I heard that Madison has no issue at all. They managed to replace everything. Do you know how they got residents to replace their service, their
Yeah, they-
laterals?
I think they paid for it.
Did it for them, or
Well,
worked really hard with them, or?
Both.
Yeah.
Three things. I believe they have an ordinance now that says that,
You have to.
yeah, if the city does any work on their side, they had to replace theirs. They had good cooperation. The water utility did pay for it. I don't know how they did. Obviously they have a little more money in their kitty than we do. I guess you might want to consider their audience in Madison, a
Yeah.
little more concerned about things like that in general.
Yeah.
They didn't replace all of them. I believe they got to 90+%. So there still are some, holdouts, if you will, but they don't have near the issue that any other city in Wisconsin has.
Right.
Obviously Milwaukee's the big one, and they're looking at, I don't even know how many. The amount of money that they're looking to spend is just astronomical on this. And the $300,000 that we've been awarded, that's 100 services. I don't know how far that legitimately goes. So again, for information, we will be talking about it as often as we can and making sure people are well aware of it.
Anything else for future agendas?
Is there anything coming up that we need to be aware of that we might want to talk about?
Well, the budget, I don't know if, you've probably seen the budget, Doug.
Yeah.
I know you've been through the capital budget items. There are some other things like equipment that we should maybe make sure you're aware of and talk about a little bit. What we did is now put together a 12-year equipment replacement plan. So we can talk about that, so you can see what we're looking at there.
I'd be
Oh,
curious.
maybe you might want to inform our august body about Main Street, what's happened with that, if they're not aware of
I
that.
saw that in the paper, it's been delayed a little bit.
Yes. Now it's going to be a split, we know for sure it's going to be a split
Uh-huh.
project, 2018 and 2019. I can't tell you much beyond that, because we're kind of waiting on the state to give us more information. We did have a lengthy discussion about how we're going to split it, and at the last meeting, we would, or the state would attempt to get from Madison to Pinnacle in 2018, and then Pinnacle to the end in 2019. Yeah, that's about as much more information as I can give you. Steve may have been in contact with them. at the time.
That might be something, is what's the ramifications of that on other projects too?
Yeah, we're assessing about
Mulberry
that.
and
Mulberry is the big one, yes. And at this point, we're moving forward with Mulberry in 2019. And that's based on the state getting to Pinnacle, which means that the traffic issues would be a little more minimal. Now, when I say get to Pinnacle, that means done. Not that they have to come back and do more work. That street would be open and ready to go. Maybe a little landscaping, but otherwise it would be a drivable, usable street. So, yeah, there's some other issues on timing. The cost of the utilities. We're trying to figure out what effect that will have for us to replace the water and the sewer and all that sort of thing, because anytime you start and stop, there are additional costs. So we're doing the math on that and just seeing what all the ramifications are. It's definitely not just a simple thing of, okay, 2018, 2019, same thing. It's not the same thing. It may, and I think this was in the paper, it may reduce the cost on the south end because we wouldn't have to, or the state wouldn't have to put in temporary travel lanes. So, again, we're taking a look at what all those costs will come out as.
Is there anything with the utility? Everything okay with that from the blurbs I got from WPPI? It seems they're okay.
Yeah, on the electric side, we're in really good shape on our project. We'll finish up the south loop around the lake, and then next year we do some overhead work on Madison Street, and then that whole project is done. And at this point, the only other thing we've got in the kitty is getting out of the way of Main Street project. So then we'll be done with those types of thing.
PSC and water?
Pardon me?
What about the PSC and the water?
We're working on the water increase or the water rate adjustment. We're working with them. Misty just handed me a note. I have to be careful about how much I talk about this stuff because it's not on the agenda, but, you know. We have a meeting scheduled with them next Tuesday to go over some of the questions they have, but the rate case is moving through the PSC. This is pretty typical, so we anticipate October-ish before they make a decision on that. We have gotten confirmation that they're working on it. So we'll give you updates as those become more available. The other utilities, wastewater, we're doing well. We've gotten some of the permits back now. We seem to have a good handle on what was messing up things. It's not totally done, but at least we've got a pretty good handle on that. You know, obviously, we've got to fix, we're hoping to get East Lake Park Place and Griffith finished yet by the end of September. I say that with some hesitation because the weather's not helping right now. But, yeah, that's about it in our departments.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Then we'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Keep that handy because I tend to talk a lot.